All right, we're back. Gingy, let's talk about the rest of this. I know you have an updated addition on this, but I'll give you what feedback I can on what I have in front of me. So I talked about you have the image here with a cell phone in the background should be a museum. I want to know as quickly as possible that we're talking about both museums and apps and the intersection between them. So image would be nice. Research, right before you get into research, why are you doing the project? And I believe it was because like you two people groups. One wants to know more information at a museum that it's available. So integrated app experience, adding content. The other one wants to have a reason to go. And so they both have a very valid claim. One wants to be incentivized. The other one wants additional information. So detail the two needs, and then when you go into research, you start picking out and learning about the two needs. But without those two needs, I'm still kind of like research doesn't make sense at that point. Statistics. I'm asked like, why is that important? Like, so your first stat at Better Land Home, so 69% saw going to the museum as a cultural activity. Okay, are cultural activities important? Should we have more of them? Do they matter? I don't know. So while you do have a number, I don't see why it's important. Americans, I guess it's a lot of art museums. I don't know. And then I'm starting to wonder, what are cultural activities? 81% said they do cultural activities to have fun. Are you saying that in order for museums to be economically viable, they have to be fun? Maybe. Unanswered questions. I don't understand this either. A large percent of people who had questions but didn't get answers. I don't understand where this is coming from. Retention rate. Yes, I understand this, right? Museums need to make money. The more you come back, the more money they make. So how do you drive continued interest? I don't know what this is. That's, Grace Swift. This is a very interesting situation. It would be really nice to know which city you're designing for. New York City has a ton of tourism, and so for them it's very easy to have multiple museums to the point where you're asking the question, which one do you go to? What do you exclude? Smaller cities like Montgomery have 2 or 3, and so they have a hard time driving viewership or patronage. So what type of city are we talking about? Pro-dummy doesn't make sense. Like I don't know who we're designing for and what are their needs. So size of the city, type of museum, what are both the needs of the people and needs of the museum, and then how do you connect those two? Okay, that's all I can give you so far. Superstone band show. We gotta do some more typography there. It don't look good so far. Like I want to be like, ooh, this looks like a cool project. Now it's like, what's up with the dark, depressive buildings? And why can't this be industrial design building? And where is this dude? I might still be kind of salty about that. Anyways, that's not going to change anything. What do we do here? Can we bold this out? Right? Give it more of a presence. And then I'd like to see if you switch to white, would it have more contrast? Same thing with this. How do we do that? Newly added walkway. Is this permanent? I know it's newly added, but is it permanent? To me, it doesn't look permanent, so I don't know if it should be included here. I like what you're doing by giving me context, but what's the most important context? I'm not so sure the chill water plant fits into that. Once again, I'm guessing. I don't know. We are talking about the amphitheater, but I think maybe a low shot of the amphitheater is what is it? What's the kind of vibe? Has more impact than just what the surrounding objects are. Don't get me wrong, the surrounding objects are important, but I don't think, if we're talking about the amphitheater, I don't feel like this does justice. Okay, as a rule, I don't like jumping into final solutions so far. So I'd like to know what are some of the charges of the project. So making a shaded structure, why, for who, how often, in what style should it be done, what other objects does it have to live around. I know you want it to be more progressive, but you can't be progressive to the point of, yeah, this doesn't fit. Like everything has kind of a brand and has to exist in its environment. So poured in place, precast, shade, structure, form, poured in place, precast, removal of panels. Maybe break this up into 2 pages. Why would you remove the panels? I mean, I understand it is more cost effective to make them off-site, bring it in and install them, but what are we removing for? Once again, I'm not going to go and hunt for this information. It should be catered to me. You did a small model, cool. What'd you learn from the small model? And it's not just like the small model, like it's all the life that happens under it. So how do you start communicating that it serves both function for informal, just day to day, and then for concerts as well? Okay. This is me looking for exactly what I was saying. Add more context and differentiation. This is a traditional architecture, like side profile view, and I get that, but I'm curious, is this the best way to show information? And keep in mind, when I think concerts, I don't think black and white. And when I think day to day, black and white is okay, but I'm thinking more, what does it look like? How does it feel as a natural environment? So just think about different ways to justify its existence. This feels too crampy. I think separate this into 2 pages would be good. Having more justification. Why'd you go with this angular structure, which is so atypical of the area? What are some considerations? What did you learn from the model? Maybe an addition, like have another concert page, like literally what would look like a concert if you're sitting in the audience looking out. What does this look like? And then daily, if you're standing here looking towards just people hanging out, what does it look like? And does it really, like, how does it benefit people day to day? Yep, still wondering what these little fake tomatoes have to do anything. Can we work on the topography here? That's a rusty word combination if I've ever seen one. What I'd like you to do is we're going to build a bit better hierarchy here. So joy, I want you to increase size until joy is at the both the left boundary and right boundary of hydroponic. It's going to be pretty big. And then underneath it, home plantation system. I thought plantations ended with slavery. Let's drop the boldness here. So if this is bold, this is regular. So primary, secondary. And then Maybe you hit enter between urban and resilience, and that goes underneath home plantation system. But I think all these three pieces of information need to exist over about right here. Problems that we have: crowded city, all right, I think you're assuming that I know too much. Are we talking about hydroponics? Are we talking about gardening? Are we talking about aeroponics? If you said how aeroponics address modern food crisis, I don't think we're in a food crisis anyways. How do modern hydroponics address global challenges? Then you can tell me what the global challenges is up top, and then how aquaponics addresses it. That's more of a justification for why we're going that direction. I need more imagery. And the design criteria has got to be coming as soon as possible, because right now you justified why hydroponics is a viable option, and then we get into the project, which is solve existing problems. I'm not really sure what the existing problems are. If you're saying why it's important, then what are some challenges people have with installing or owning or operating hydroponic systems? This needs to go on the left, because at least in America we read from left to right, and this needs to be more primary. Instead of like this rule of thirds, which can work, it's almost like I want design criteria to be big and center, and then I want a logo for energy efficient, a logo for food diversity, a logo for ease of operation, or whatever criteria you decide to explain. We're using some vertical system, and then you talk about that. Or space efficiency. I just don't know what problems you're solving here. I mean, you're talking about it's double-sided, it's vertical, it's efficient, but design criteria, what things are you going for? And then, like, maybe, is it possible to group these things according to different topics, or are you trying to solve all topics with all sketches? If you're doing all topics with all sketches, then can we lighten this one? This feels bold. I want it to be like more regular and more light. Concept sketch probably maybe goes up here, and then we get larger scale. I prefer it down there, but it works okay there. If you lighten up these comments, you might be able to add more comments in there. For I will be better able to understand how your sketches solves the problem. Is it necessary to say foam core prototype? No, because it's not really giving me information. I know it's foam core, and if it's foam core, it's probably not a final model. Space usage. So I think you're being too superficial. I want more information in this. Organic shape, I disagree. That's not very organic. It's stack, stack, stack. That's an array. Or repetition. Organic's more like free-flowing. Space efficient, spell check. I just want to know, now that you made the foam core prototype, what do you think about it? Right? You could talk about the structure being important. You could talk about the vertical stack, having why do you have 3 high instead of 2 high? Why do you have 3 high instead of 4 high? What is this for? Like, what did you learn from doing the foam core model? Structural support, like I don't See how this image and this image are so similar? Like, why have both images? And if that's the case, then let's see if there's any more. Have 1, 2, 3 on the same page. Maybe scale them down a little bit. But why do we need a sprout box? You just tell me it's a sprout box, but I don't know what's important. Water, I'm pretty sure we're talking about plants. Water is good, so I don't need an explanation on that one. I think this is Harley. I really don't know. But I really don't like the graphic layout. The more I look at it, the more it fights you. Like, I think that what you're doing later is more interesting. It's more visually attractive and does a better use of space, but it starts right here. This just kind of feels clunky. Like, I just give me a final option. Don't box in anything. Maybe do this in gray or do this in this teal, light blue color. And then leave the background white. Explain the concept or explain what were your developments on this final concept from the foam model. Like, what additions did you make? This little bleed here. I wonder if you take this, scale it up just a little bit to where the bottom of that line lines up at the bottom of the page. Joy just kind of feels like it's thrown in there. Not really sure if it's necessary. Home plantation system up top. Faster, simple, healthier, okay. And then this information, smaller, lighter font choice, little leader, have this information come off and be detailed information. So primary, secondary, or tertiary. And maybe just leave that off. I don't see how it benefits you at this moment. Alright, sequence of use. I want to see this like in context. Like, I haven't seen any on buttons. I don't know where to add nutrition unless it's in the water tank. Have all this information center aligned instead of left aligned. So I need images to help me understand this. So I might take this, scale it down, move it off to the right, use this left area, and have 3 images. 1, top, third, what does the power button look like? Second, third, where to add water and add nutrients. And then I don't know what the third one is, but you can figure that out. Water line down. Or these are too small, and I don't know what I'm really looking at. Almost like I want a cross section of this. The water goes up. Does it ever come down? I don't know. This interface, I don't know how it works. Maybe never get into interface and I'm okay with that. How are these top LEDs helping anything? Like, how do they actually get back to the plant? I understand the ones that are over plants give it light, but the ones that are on top, how's that useful? Once again, I think the text is too big and clunky. Go from a bold to a regular. Sprout box. Talked about that earlier. It just came back. Like, I don't understand where in this entire system the sprout box goes. Or where does it come from? I like it for scale, but I wonder if you would take a silhouette of a person here. Or here. Or somebody sitting at the table. Just drive home that this is 4 people. Get rid of this page. All right, if we're talking about brand, I need to know something for like, what are the core values of the brand? Is this a progress or a process? I don't know. Let's see. Criteria. All right, indoor and outdoor environments. Yo, there's a lot of indoor and outdoor environments. I feel like I talked about this last time. It would be, to me, it's better to talk about this in more specifics. Like, are we talking about outdoor, walking from building to building on my campus? Or are we talking about I'm going into the woods, I'm going into the mud? I don't know. You're the one who gets to drive the brand. So I would like some more specificity here. Design purpose, I'm not going to read it. Market, I'm not going to read it. Visuals, high function. So these look like more trainers. Appearance, oh my gosh, those are hideous. Kill me now. Appearance, so you're saying like aesthetic value, not so much appearance. And that is really subjective. So I don't know if we can use appearance as a measurement. Still, I need to understand the brand first. Nope. Mood board, got to move moved up. So refine this, be more specific, give me a mood board, explain the problem. Why do no current shoes fit that boundary of being a lifestyle, high fashion brand, but also having the ability to be rigid, rugged, stain resistant? And from this, I don't really understand development. For me, this is an image that'll come later when you're understanding part architecture. So really that should be towards the right, because typically we develop things from left to right. The more finished images should be over here. So when I'm looking at progress of sketches with no callouts, keep in mind, I'm not going to read that. I'm going to go to the interesting thing first. And I really don't need to know it's sketches. So maybe we just get rid of sketches and make this larger so I can see the sketches, and that will give you a little bit more real estate to talk about them or add a call out. If you make this bigger, smaller, lighter sketches, that's too light. That's probably about right. I'd like it just to be a little bit darker. This is a good line quality value. That progresses into stage 2, and stage 2 progresses into stage 3. And it might do that, but then again, like these being rendered say these are the most important, and these being the biggest say this is the most important. So maybe this is misleading. So the different soles. Yeah, I'm curious about your design process. Design progress feels weird. Process. Why is it important for you to design an upper and then a lower instead of designing them all as one at the same time? Mood board that goes earlier. Where should we drop just a little bit of descriptive text? Maybe here. What type of vibe are you going for? It gives me, like, I might not read it, but it gives me another level of information, especially if it's like 1 or 2 lines that I don't mind kind of glimpsing at. And then I want to see how these transition or translate into your final design. So this has more like, I'm calling feminine colors, so light blue, purple, nude, pink. And you don't get any of those tones. Like, how did those influences find their way into your design? Right, and I think you need to show me, this makes sense. Here's addition number 1, addition number 2. And then instead of just changing the color ways all of a sudden, could you give me multiples? This can still be the biggest in front and in focus, but I feel like this style or color needs to be in the background. Give me another style or color in the background. Ugh. Alright, so currently I'm looking at spreads. Let's not formatting this in spreads if we can avoid it. The reason why is like exactly this. You've taken the real estate you have on a page and like cut it in half. Now I gotta zoom in. Yeah, that's really gross. I would say it's overload of grossness. So kudos, we've reached that point. I don't know where this ad is coming from. Let's see if we can go to Instagram. I think a friend of mine, like, she does lots of, I don't want to go there. She does lots of videos of her cat, and I wouldn't care, except like they're legitimately funny. And the cat never writes in perfect English. It's kind of like the Chick-fil-A cows. Things are misspelled, and they're kind of a hybridization of English. So, how can we redo this? Cold food, no touch. You like sweets, me no like sweets. Something like that to make it feel like it's more of the cat talking than a literal PhD cat. What do we do with all this grossness? Because I like what you're doing, but it's just, it's too gross. How do we integrate imagery with this? This is like the same thing. I don't want it cold, I want it warm. Ugh. Too late for me to be using my creative brain. I need more options on this page. So let me forecast what a different one might look like, and then you're the one who's going to give me multiple visualizations. All we need is one image of this, and we're good. And that's how do you integrate with a page? I don't know, maybe it's a 50-50 split with one large image to the left. Just talking about people don't want to use their cutlery to touch something that's not going to be their food. And then maybe if it's cold, what would look like cold? Little frost symbol. Maybe the cat talks in emojis. So cold face, unhappy face, fire, happy face, candy, unhappy face, and then you add the text around it. I like the direction, we're just not there yet. I'm not going to read it. Why? It's too much text. I don't care to read that text. So if you want something for me to read over here, it's got to be bold. And really this is like design opportunities. How do we eliminate odors, eliminate personal utensils, eliminate messy storage? Like just a header, design opportunities. These things, increase institutional value by relationship with the cat. Okay. Now, if you do set up this as like design opportunities or design criteria, you need to start solving it over here. Yes, you need more sketches, but really you should have a sketch page and you should organize it in such a sense where I can see that what are ideas that allow me to eliminate odor, what are ideas that eliminate my need to touch, what are ideas that help me to store or container this object when it's not in use, right? Because that's why we have criteria for you to develop upon it. And if I don't know where this comes from, there's there's no link, like you've just broken the story. These will come later. I don't know what to do with those, one or the other. Splot like cat food, not yet. Like this can be integrated to a concept later. So previous one is just like all a bunch of sketches, all a bunch of ideas, and then you can give me maybe half a page where you refine concept 1, half a page where you refine concept 2. How it works. Is one concept or two concept? It looks like two concepts to me. So maybe this page here, you choose concepts 1 and 2. Is it possible to do a full page of explaining concept 1? Maybe, maybe not. It depends how many more images you have, how much more storytelling you can really get out of those images. Final image. Can we bring the brightness up on these? I want them to look more of the same color palette as this food. And you see how it's just flying around? Maybe a drop shadow, not drop shadow, but maybe some sort of a grounding shadow would be good. I'm curious, I wonder if this is too small in terms of font size. We're not going to really know until we print it out, but my inkling is these are a bit too small, so could you bump it up some? This is primary. I would say this is secondary, and that's tertiary. Do I need these symbols yet to talk about cost, something, and lighting? Probably not. Yep, because you talk about it here. I don't like the inclusion of the word strictly. And once again, like, how do we drive this down to 3 lines instead of 4? You almost have an orphan going on here. How might the luminaire complement the mood of a room through aesthetics and lighting, all while maintaining manufacturing efficiency and low cost? I think, yeah, cost efficient is the word to use in this situation. All right, so if these are our criteria, and I do think they're valid criteria, how do we start exploring those items? So mood board, lots of wood tone, lots of brightness. I need to know how this pulls into your things later. Ideation. I like having local information, right? We know this is really difficult to draw. I'm not going to read it, especially I still feel, yeah, that font's probably going to be too small for legibility. I mean, just texture and ever houses, fluorescent tube. I'm able to read your hand notes, but that's really stretching it. So why are these 3 chosen? How are these kind of played out into refinement? This is in your page, so get that page popping. Cad Refinement. Why do Cad? Like, what are you working out? Like, I need a reason behind your decision, not just that you did CAD. Too small for me. I'm just looking around for opportunities to say material. Like, why is this guy here? Why isn't this there? Because in this case, you're paying for. The more I look at it, the more I get confused, right? So you had the same type of footprint in the machine. I know it's like horizontal, so maybe reformatting these. I like what you're doing by communicating information of being efficiency, and layout is very efficient. But the sizes make me curious. Like, why was it 3 different stocks for one machine? You kind of have one stock that is most efficient. So I like what you're doing about changing the color. Yeah. How do we drive home that you're giving them the choice to do different types of arrangements? Because I know, because I talked to you, but this flipped. So that's looking underneath the lamp. That's looking on top of the lamp. There's not enough visual distinction for me to change that mindset. This is where I start changing the idea. So how do you explain that better? That it gives you the option to vary your look. Like just telling me isn't enough. I need you to somehow show me. I would even say maybe lose this. Or lose these two. And give me kind of maybe an exploded view, make me a line drawing of these pieces, up, down, up, down, up, down equals this, all down equals this, up, down, up, down, down. So some way of visually explaining you have the options instead of me kind of Hail Mary pass picking up from one or two images. It's a good design detail. I just don't feel like it's there yet. And we talked about changing this so that it fit more accurately, because you can go look up at your mood board. It's all woods and kind of dark and kind of moody tones, and this is a super bright living room kitchen combo. Is this compressed? I'm not going to look because it's here right now. Just make sure it's under 20. Too much information. Aquaponic system. I would like the other basic information. I like how our colors are matching up again. I like having the EcoCube should be bigger. It's your title. I might expand it over to all the way to here. So just grab it, expand it. It's priority 1 or equal priority with that information. I know it's red. It doesn't bother me now. Maybe just because it's late. Scale EcoTube up, aquaponic system, 15-week project. Two pages. Explain what an aquaponic system is first, and then target market. I still don't like what is your design opportunities for your target market, which should be number 3. All right. So how it works. You can kill it off and expand this bigger, because I don't necessarily need to know that this is a field trip. I want to have an understanding as a person reading this project that you understand aquaponic systems. And if you can communicate this, it makes better sense. So it just feels like these two are redundant. Just wondering if is there any information here that's essential that needs to be pulled over here. So you have a solution. Introduce me to aquaponics. Tell me about, of all the different markets you can go into, you chose to choose this one, which feels like tiny home, if I'm remembering right. And we can't do this. We've got to stick with the same type of visualizations. The downside is you have a lot of logos, and logos let me pick up concepts quickly, but are they grouped? Like, is there any reason why these 3 are together and these 5 are together? 50 years of age, I think you can throw that out, because really it's about tiny home owners and their situation, and then 50 years of age doesn't feel as relevant. Kind of same stuff I said last time. Get rid of all the concepts. I want to know how these concepts are solving the problem for your target demographic. I wonder what this would look like if you took these sketches and put them on top, and you took these images and moved them down some. Too much text. I'm not going to read it. If you want me to look at something, bold a few items, but it's just too much for me to read. I'm not going to stop. If you prototyped, this was like a 3D model to me. What did you learn from the prototype? Like, what are your biggest outcomes? What, after you made it, what things did it change? Those are some, I have to know those outcomes. That's why we make prototypes in the first place. instead of just a giant thing of text, I want you to localize it. So if you have a bit of information that's relative to these two items, put it here. And then if you have information that's relative to this item, maybe put it here. For me, final solution doesn't really matter that much, because if it's the last thing you show me, it's probably your final solution. It can stay there or not, but to me it's not that important. I don't need to know it's a rendering, because you've already said this is your final iteration rendering, so don't tell me it again. I need to have a human in this for sure. I need to be able to see it within the context of a tiny home, and I don't see that yet. So if you can get those bits of information worked up, I think that would help round out the story. Kindle, I'm wondering, is this the same edition that we talked about this morning in our meeting? Yep. Yeah, for me, it's you're missing content, and you're missing why, and some of the directions feel kind of fake. It's not a slight against you. It's just you picked a project which doesn't have a lot of content, and it helps the first project has content. So I'm just trying to make sure there's justification. So I'm trusting you took notes from this morning's meeting, and then I don't have to repeat myself. Now, keep in mind, you can throw this out for the rest of your projects. It's going to come back at the beginning of your portfolio when you print it out, or when you submit it to me online, but right now not useful. Let's scale this down some, mostly because your drop shadow is starting to get over your text. I'm not really wild about numbering projects. I'd actually let's put a Q there, because I think that's more relative to this project. This is about the last mile, so make sure I have an understanding of last mile. Maybe here. How might we practically address the issue of last mile transportation? We can do it through a compact size, personal portability, onboard storage options, and price point. You're kind of being redundant in both of these things. So before, I need to know why you're doing these, or I need, I guess, a visual explanation of what is a last mile, what are the challenges, what are the best ways to solve those challenges. That's the difference between just kind of jumping straight into a story. One is here's the big problem, and this is the problem framed on how I'm going to address it. These feel redundant, so maybe pick one, because I don't see the difference. Prototyping, and it's okay to leave out sketching, but I'm just wondering what changed. This feels like a new page, but I don't think they're good new pages. Sorry if I'm saying this stuff, but it's probably what I believe. I wonder if you need a justification. I jumped straight into prototyping because I needed a concrete understanding of volume and storage transportation. And after I understood that in a 3D nature, I could go back to do form development. I think that'd be a good justification. And this isn't, I think, a great sketching project, but I want to see that you thought about this in terms of aesthetics. Function is great, but going from this to that is scary. It's that's a really big Hail Mary pass, and I still don't really know how you're using this stuff. And you could explain some of the use in the sketching page. That way, when I get to the final model, I'm not questioning how do you drive it, where's my collapsibility item. Is there a motor on this thing? Yes. You have an accelerator. Where does the motor live? How do you use this rack? This is I'm gonna say it. This is a terrible page. I don't understand what it looks in a macro view, and so when you jump into these details, I don't really know where they're at. That's lost. It's too dark. I don't know what that is in relative of the other objects. I don't know if that's a zoom in of. This is by the wheels. This is the only part I actually understand. I'm like, why are these things here? You have an LED strand for what? The handle grip pivots because the pin and locking mechanisms allow you to transform it from big to small, which you shouldn't show. This is like, oh, it's mobile. Cool. Well, how's it mobile? Oh, we have a hinge. You should tell me in like this sketch page or here that you needed to test mobility. Hate that page. It's missing too much content. I'm lost. It's like I've been shotgunned and like, all right, it's a project, but I don't know. I can't appreciate your process because I don't understand it. I do like ice cream. Mint. Although I'll be totally honest, I don't like chocolate in any other variation except chocolate itself. You didn't need to know that. All right, I'm not going to let you do this type of font. It's just the legibility is too difficult. I don't mind you using a serif font. It feels like you're kind of going for more of an elegant portfolio style, and I'm good for that. Talenty. You're saying it's a design proposal, but I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know why you have a blank item. And these calories come from protein, fat, and total carbs. So total fat should actually be closer to what the color representing is. And these should be bigger because I can barely tell the color difference. So dark, medium, light. The ice cream industry. We do like ice cream, but what are you doing? You say portion control. We should get to understanding this here. Portion control for like the home consumer. What is that? Muffin Top? It's a brand that allows you to eat the entire thing and not feel guilty about it. All right, it's packaging design. Can you just tell me it's packaging design at the front? And instead of like unpacking all these different options, like quickly in one page talk about the ice cream industry, show me pictures of ice cream, show me images of gluttony, and so like how can design address that, and then you go straight into the packaging, because like all this pre-information is like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I don't want to head to page 5 before I'm like, oh, we're doing packaging. Got it. So get me to here faster. I need to know what problems we're trying to solve. I know it's portion control, but that's because I had to read. I wanted to know visually and instinctively that we're dealing with portion control. And then like what other things does the brand need to have? Let's not make this page up. Like I want to know you went from sketches to more refined sketches to prototypes. Prototypes, what are solutions of whatever system this is? I don't know what it is. What is this guy? What's the labeling look like? And then this is what it should round out to be. This should be the very end, is showing off kind of some purchased at-home items. I might use that as your final solution. It just looks so good. I mean, this looks good. That looks great. Why you got a snowball here? So major props were like doing hyper strict on the imagery, but I just need additional data, additional information to know why you made the decisions you made and what are the best decisions. All right, back on this thing. Redoing 3D model. Yeah, or just like Photoshop it. It looks cool, but it should have some plants growing out of it, because its job is to have plants growing out of it. All right, so let's walk through this again. So it's the art of aquaponics. Cool, we're talking about aquaponics. What are aquaponics? Good, good, good. Why are these here? I wonder if you combine them. So 1, 2, 3, 4 units. Number one, number two, number three, number four, and then have it correspond. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. That way you can start adding text about stage 1. Fish poop is food. Step 2, fish poop food is and water is used to feed plants. Part 3, runoff comes back down into the water. No way in the world I'm able to read that. Media field beds. What's media? Keep in mind, I don't know. And if I don't know, it's not my fault. You're the smart person here, so make sure you communicate what media is. Deep water culture. I don't know what any of this is. And I'm be willing to bet you're not going to use all 3 systems in your solution. So just tell me about the one you're going to use and describing that one system. Too much information to look at. It's better. I mean, it's a good layout, but dang, it's a lot of information. So we have an aquaponic system. This is who it is. I would throw all of that out. I don't care that he likes Men's Health. I don't care that he's part of the DuPont registry. What I'm caring about is you have a person who wants a aquaponic system. What does he want in an aquaponic system? So what are some of your design goals here? And that way, once I understand your design goals, when you start sketching to achieve those goals, it makes more sense. Thank you for changing the radiuses on those. That needs to be, actually, I think all this needs to be a touch bigger. I would say increase all these other sketches by 20%, and this needs to come up 30%. Now, I'm not even sure we got to say design process. So if you got to get rid of this to make all this bigger, go for it. Or is there a way to make that subtle in the background? Are we talking about heat or nutrient flow? Because anytime I see blue and red, stuff that looks like water, I think temperature. Is that a right or a wrong assumption? How are we doing on my timing? Whew. Okay, long day. And then you need to describe, like talking about the different systems. Could we try material direction or nutrient direction? Material decision is very important. Sorry. I'm just trying to make sense of this. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Yes, things are flowing around, but what are they? And why do you need 2 systems? That's another good point. Why are there 2 systems? Why can't you do this in one? Do you like the scale? What did you learn from making the prototype? So this would be exploded view, explaining the components. So show me one big view and then show me it in detail. You might need 2 pages for this. It's a 2-part system. This is how the 2-part system works. Large image of one part, details. Next page, large image of second part, details. And then put it all together in one final image. One of the biggest things I don't know how it works. And if I don't know how it works, I don't think you're a good designer. It's pretty, but I don't know if you can solve problems. I'm worried about a size booze. 3 seconds. 3, 2. Whew. Sliding in. Make sure it's under 20. I'm always going to see this because I hate it so much. Bring that in, push that back. What have you got to do? So I need a little bit of more text description, a little bit of typography that explains where we're going. I know we're making a chair. I got that. I know we're pulling these aesthetic inspirations, which is really just telling me bent plywood and coziness and comfort. But at some point, I want you to reiterate that through text. So maybe have like our text introduction page here where you're explaining just some basic things of the project. Like we were given 5 weeks to explore in different mediums, the materials of steel, wood, and something else. Things come in 3 that work really nice. I wanted to achieve the goal of having these rigid materials come across as comfortable, and have a high aesthetic style. Could you describe that style in words? Maybe. And that way, when you go into the sketch ideation, I know what you're working on. Like, how do these solve the issues you're going for? Because right now I don't know the issues. You just tell me it's bent, cool. You take it as a large base, cool. But if you say, you give me an idea of, I've got to meet these criteria, I've got to use this material to achieve this goal, when I see you doing it, it makes more sense. Do I like this? Yeah, that's all right. What's that wet at? Additionally, like, ideas you go with and ideas you don't go with are equally important. So I'm wondering, like, this is level 1, and I think that's good. Why is this so big and not highlighted? Is that the same thing as you? No, it's different. So the ones that are chosen should be bigger and highlighted. But I'm also curious, like, I chose not to pursue this direction because of this reason. It's secondary or tertiary information, but it's also valuable. Prototyping. Don't tell me what you did, which is this is full scale. That's a seat pan. That's a 16 scale. Tell me why it's important. I learned from the small metal that I needed to do this. In my full scale mock-up, I realized this, and so I changed in this final edition and something else. Woodworking. At some point, you've got to drop in this aha. I think it's got to be 4 here because you're already making the pieces. And so we go, oh, it's just one mold. Well, you knew it was going to be one mold here. So when you drop that kind of aha moment, I feel like it depends on how you work it out, right? If you had, what's the reason to go one mold? Is it your original intention, or is it reactionary to a manufacturing process? You can actually make this a good thing. After making my first mold, I had such good craftsmanship and execution from it. I wondered how I can repeat that to drive costs down and maintain a certain level of aesthetic quality. And manufacturing hack. I don't think we can show this to me here because this is a final image, and then you go back into fabrication. Okay, image. I need some text accompaniment here. Maybe put a dark background behind it so it pops out. This to me is more of a detail image, so it shouldn't take up the entire page. I wonder if you can make this into thirds. So grab a detail out of this. I don't know what detail it's going to be. I don't even know if this is an image worth grabbing it out of. But maybe do thirds, 1, 2, 3, and then somehow give me a bit more information, like why is it good? Why does it achieve your overall goal? Grace talked about it in class. You should be good. You got lots of feedback. Oh, Bevy. All right, we got to back this off. This is way too in my face. One, we got to Photoshop some of this out. Two, text size needs to come down some. Maybe this is I wonder what this would look like as right aligned. I definitely know that I want this dark background to be darker. I'm losing stuff a little bit here, so just increase contrast by a notch. If you don't do right aligned, perhaps doing full justification where the left and right are equal. And here's our window pane. What image is not necessary? One of these. I'm very interested in just like taking it out and using that for a little bit of text explanation. Call out information here, information here. Or we could zoom in. So this is detail image. The other ones are detail images. I like this image. It's pretty descriptive. I like this, showing it in use. I think that's pretty clever. Your text might be able to come down. Like, I won't really know until we print them out, but just kind of inclination. Yeah, my biggest beef is here. You go through this initial development. I do know what you're fixing, but it's like during your initial sketch phase, you get to your solution. And so I'm wondering, how did you get from here to here? What improvements did you make, and why did you make those improvements? So I think in this kind of hybrided, like, how do you get from this stage to this stage? I want you to talk about these, I'll call them black beans, grooved basalt stones. Like, why is it important to the overall experience? Mostly because I have to go hunting for it here to know it's there. And I don't see in these initial concepts, so it feels like it needs a page to transition from lit concept to something that accommodates both. It does some environmental heating, but mostly it's superficial or contact heating. Okay. Could you take this line 16 design thing for Smuckers? I want you, actually, I'm not really sure we have to use the word Smuckers because you have the Meow Mix, and Meow Mix, in terms of talking about cat food, is more popular. So I understand that you worked for them in this situation. So maybe the inclusion of Smuckers isn't as important, but if you want to keep it, can you scale down this line so it lines up with the end of the G in feeding? Thank you. The layout of information is not very attractive on this. Too full. Yeah, Yulin, we've just some formatting issues. The information is really good. I understand what you're doing. It's just the way you're presenting the information isn't as attractive. Like, you have these borders that are orange at the top and the bottom, but what are they doing other than just kind of taking away space? So I think you have all the information. It appears you have all the information that you need to communicate that you solved a good problem. The problem is just how you're doing the layouts. So what I might do is go back to my Teams and look at the good online portfolios and just pick a format and copy that format and like use it as your underlying graphic design instead of trying to do your own. Alright, beware of doing this because wet cat food and Smuckers does not go together. So I know it was done by Smuckers, but you have to explain that connection, and maybe you just avoid it by saying which brand of the cat food. So Meow Mix. Yes, these are all good points. I don't need to see the same cat again. To me, like, this is not a really good introduction image. How can we show your final deliverable in kind of an abstracted way? I wouldn't mind showing this up front because I don't know what this is and I have no other frame of reference, and so it makes me curious about it. In order to understand it, I have to read through the project. So I might lead off with an image similar to this or a section of that to give me an idea of what we're talking about, but not a full idea. Therefore, I must keep reading. Research opportunities. I would like some icons. A yucky finger, single serve packaging, happier experience. Like this is really good information, but how does that translate into a mood board? I don't think a mood board makes sense. It should go into initial concepts. Image board. Why is there an image board? You see how it's confusing? We're talking about research and we're giving me objectives to solve. Then I want to see how you solve them in the sketching. I see different colors. Do they relate to something? Maybe orange, blue, and red. Orange, there's no blue and red. I'm just trying to make connections. Initial design concepts. What are some good things about them? What are some bad things about them? Structural packaging. I wouldn't talk. No, I don't want structural packaging concepts yet. I'm kind of confused at the direction of that. Man, this is tough. I'm tired, and this is a frustrating one. So pick specific ones. I guess these two, and if it is these two, they need to be bigger. Maybe this needs to flow from left. This needs to be reversed because these seem smaller and more initial, and these seem more developed. So I should read from left to right. And then concept 1, explain the paper development of that. And then 2, explain the development of that. I see this part connecting, but the second one I don't understand. I just get confused between how did you get from these concepts? How did you develop those concepts in a three-dimensional space, and what did you learn from the prototypes? I don't know if I need both. Focus group. Did the focus group look at your three-dimensional objects and give you feedback? The way it's going, that's the only logical way they could. If they're giving feedback on sketches, then the sketches or the paper model should come after focus group. I don't know. For me, the packaging is like the graphic design is such a little phase of it that I don't think it's worth including because it's just one page, and this is good. I don't know. I don't feel the connection or the need to go through the graphic design just to give me that. That I feel can come from your product sketches, not so much graphic design sketches. I don't understand where the focus group comes in and how the focus group give you information to move forward with your concepts. How might this work? We can't cut off the feet of the cat. What are the benefits of this, right? You said earlier that in order for this to be successful, I don't want to touch it. I need single serve and as a user experience. So I get it, you don't have to touch it, but how is it single serve? And how is this a more enjoyable experience? I know you talked about Pez. I just wonder if the Pez comes back to at some point. Here, inspired by Pez. I don't know. It just feels lazy. Like you just included a cat. Like I almost want like a sequence of use would be good, or a little storyboard. You have a package, you open the package. Of course you did, but like, how does this keep me from touching it? How is this a more enjoyable user experience? How is it good for the cat? It's like you're just throwing out images and hoping that I understand it, and I'm still a bit lost. I would like more explanation. Yeah, I'm losing steam. Right now, I'm going to see if I can do like 5 more. 13 weeks, last mile. Auburn Univ Studio. That's not the most important thing on this page. Everything in here is going to probably be done at Auburn or some type of design studio. So last mile transportation could be primary. 13 weeks is secondary. I don't know. Is that important information? No. And give me an image. Quit being lazy. Like, give me some context. Research. How do you visualize this? How do you make me understand that the last mile is a very worthwhile topic to investigate? And like, this seems like irrelevant information. You're either in a vehicle or you're not. This is all personal owned vehicle. So it's walking, biking, public transportation, being MARTA or bus or personal vehicle. So you're making it for errands because that's the travel reason. Yearly travel, 4 trillion miles. Who's doing 4 trillion miles? This is confusing information. Get rid of that. This is a situation of being way too small. I can't see the forest for the trees. So while the formatting's nice, it's like you just gotta reduce, man. You have all these different products you're comparing. I think that's good, but like, I don't know what problem you're solving. You're just telling me that you're probably designing for errands. Even if I put the banner chart together, which I'm guessing you're going towards, it's not the same amount as a car. So this is confusing. So you've got to introduce the idea of a scooter between these two, and why it helps you, why it's a valuable solution to the last mile, running errands. That way when I know the topic, when you start breaking down what's going on in the market, I can see opportunities. That's got to be broken out to more pages. Well, I really don't care about, Dart. I don't care about product names. I'm interested in concepts and what you're trying to solve through the concepts, and this doesn't give me that. Once again, I'm looking at this on a 13-inch monitor. Why? Because that's what I own. And so maybe it's just best to assume that you're always designing for a 13-inch monitor, because if it goes up, I can read it. Actually, I don't know if there's any screens shorter or smaller than a 13-inch, but I can only read 4 things on this, and it's not that reading's that important. It's just that you've done the writing and you're trying to communicate information. It's just too freaking small. Split development, exploration, and sex concepts. How many ideas did you investigate at the same time? Maybe 2. So maybe you just have not a straight line, but a diagonal line where you talk about landship, you explored it, here's your final concept. We've got to show this information in a different way, because right now it's too clustered and I don't know what you're going after. And what is the point? Why are there 2 different concepts that you're investigating? Too many images. I'm also wondering, why did you why did you join these? Instead of killing one off and pursuing one, you joined them for this reason. Just show the big render. You can talk about details later. I need to know why this is a good solution first before you talk about details. Storing passenger, command I or control I. Water shielding. If you have a storage bin, you should probably use it. Wait. Publix. Really, you should just should we have brand integration on this? I don't know. I'm just more confused than ever before. What problems does this solve? Show me how it solves them. You talk about a battery display. I don't see it. Cost. I don't see it. Why do you need headlights? Why is this thing rolled back? Don't just tell me it's for tall storage. Show me why it's beneficial for tall storage. The more I go, the more confused I am. Maybe it's because I'm tired. I'm going to try to do one more. I think I'm just losing my ability to help solve problems. Leafy fish. Maybe this is 2 lines. It needs to visually line up with that point right there. What is aquaponics? Good question. I need less background image and more visual explanation. Maybe we could scoot these lines up and down and then make that bigger. Once again, your superpower is communicating visually. So I want you to visually explain aquaponics. I don't necessarily want to have to read to figure it out. Because you have this here, it's too small for me to read. Or it's kind of just too small for me to understand. This is potentially good. I'm worried that it's too much information and I don't know the reason for the information. I know that we're using aquaponic systems. I know it's for this person. What type of aquaponic system does this person need? What are some of their own personal goals? Why does he want one? And if he had one, what would be the ideal aquaponic setup? I don't really care about his motivation as much, because it's not motivation. This is more like purchasing criteria. But I think motivation is I need motivation to go to the gym. Opportunities. This should be big, and these should be large text statements. In order to best fit the persona of John Deckard. It needs to be simple and beautiful, easy to maintain, be intuitive. That's what I get from your opportunities. Could I make a suggestion? Instead of these being typed, could this be handwritten? It depends if you have good handwriting or not. The reason why is like when as soon as you go into text, it feels final and it feels refined. And really you're kind of working through these ideas. So could we change the font to look more like handwriting? Option 1 or 2, can you actually write them? And this is, I wouldn't call this brand development. This is logo or icon development. Having considerations are good, but I'm wondering how they relate into these objects. And I want them to, I don't want to have to read a paragraph. I want to know information, information, information. Human, technical, and production. So maybe just talk about these things through the concepts instead of kind of introducing it as one big chunk of information. So sketches, we had to consider manufacturing to drive down costs. This one is we had to consider materials because it would live outside. We had to consider humans might perceive these things. So I think a more integrated approach would be more beneficial here. Can't read it, get rid of it, come back and throw your text in a way that's more legible. Concept development, this one's alright, because like in terms of hierarchy, primary, secondary, tertiary, or these are all secondary, that's okay. But this page really loses it. One of the problems is like everything has color, everything has size. So this is the first thing I'm going to read from left to right because my entire life I've been reading from left to right. And so this is the biggest one, I stop here. It could be beneficial to desaturate, knock back the color on some of these. That way my attention is going where you want it to go. Get rid of concepts, concept, concept. And then I need to reinforce from your initial sketches to these development sketches. What did you develop? Why is it a better solution? Further development, then you need to get to this concept. I need to get rid of redundancies. So once again, I love how you're articulating why these are good solutions. Maybe it can be in text here, but this text is too bold. Let's get rid of further concept and get rid of that word. Because I see the concept here and I see more detailed things. So it's like you're being redundant and where you need the real estate to talk about these items. So everything needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's drop this from a bold or a regular down to a lighter text. And then I need you to communicate what are the solutions. I guess you're doing that. I just don't feel like reading. Scale model. What did you learn from the scale model? Other than how the mechanics work. And if you're talking about how the mechanics works, I want a diagram showing nutrients here go flows up. Or nutrients and fish here flows up to the top, drain down, drain down, drain down. That's what I'm interested in. That's how mechanical parts work together. These also seem kind of dark and hard to read. Okay, how about what changes did you make from your sketch model to your foam model? What changes did you make? What did you learn from doing this? Did you learn you needed to hide the pipe in this form? How it works, that should be like, I guess, full bleed. I don't know why we're necessarily doing blue. What type of color scheme we're working with here? Really, green seems a bit more evident, maybe you go, I don't want to go gray, maybe you go all white on the background, because the blue just doesn't feel like it fits. You shouldn't tell me how it works. I should look at the images and go, oh, this is how it works. So this is good. Pumps nutrients at the top. I don't know what this is necessarily. So if you're explaining how it works here, maybe you should be zoomed in here. I just like, what additional information are you providing me in this image that I don't already get in these two images? I think we need a different approach to this. I do like having callouts. I don't really see the leaders; they're a bit too light. This is my suggestion on this page. Let's take this image, push it to the left, and then we have one image here, one image here, one image here, rule of thirds, and then you pick a specific detail and you show a zoomed in form, and then maybe through a little bit of text you explain, I included supporting rods for vertical growing plants such as tomatoes. An auto siphon was included to have this thing. This fish auto filter roller pad allows you to access and clean without having to really remove the elements of the aquaponic systems. Because if I can see it here, I see how the details relate to the greater whole. Here, I'm a little bit lost because I don't know where this comes from. This is good. Only thing we designed for people, so how could you have a person working on your system? Even if it's kind of in the background, it gives it a feel that it's useful. Right now, it's kind of existing by itself. It's a really beautiful render, but having a person kind of interacting with it, I think, would bring it to the next level. All right, Mary, 1, 2, 3. I'm scrolling too fast. Yeah, I got a bunch. And I feel like I'm losing my ability to articulate. So I'm going to stop here for tonight. We'll come back at tomorrow and start with Mary. All right, how are my levels? All right, we're good. Great. And we're back. Collective capital, branding, 2 months. Inspiration, all right, so it's a placeholder. I just kind of wanted to see more images at the beginning. Let me see what collective capital is. I don't know what collective capital is. So this is this logo development or brand development? It feels a bit more brand because you're expanding it to different type of stationery. Okay, those are placeholders, got it. One, I need an image back there just to give me a little more context about what we're designing. Like, could be a picture of the letterhead or that combination with stationery, business card, something like that. And then I need to know your design process. Inspiration's fine. Philosophically, maybe I'll get it from the inspiration because right now I don't see any translation. Like, we are these things, here's some logos. So maybe it's the imagery of the inspiration will help me understand why is collective capital. Now, is collective capital a branding agency for this? I don't know. So I feel like I'm at kind of an impasse. I can't give you more information until I know more about it. Yes, reorganization. I don't know what your goals are, and I have no idea which ones are better or worse. I don't even really know which one you go with. So it kind of leaves me at a loss. Where did that P go? Capital. Why is there a space here? I'm confused. So how do we get rid of Ben Bush's confusion? And then how do you pair a font choice up with a mark? Yes. Okay. The biggest thing I can give you feedback now is what is your decision process? Which ones are more successful and aligned to who you're going to be marketing towards and what your inspiration says, and which ones are, more successful or less successful. All right. Safer for the environment? Safer makes you think of like health, safety, well-being. Environment is more was ecological. Like, so the words here are a bit confusing. Why does it doesn't feel good. It has the information, but it's not laid out right. So what are some different ways? One is I don't really care so much about, well, I guess the millions are nice. I can add that up if I wanted to. Wait, now I'm really confused. Let's do our numbers. So you have 4 million, 4 million, 1 million. 4 plus 4 equals 9. 9 million people commute according to this. But you say a lot more commute, so information is deceiving. Secondly, if these are the totals, let's say it's 7 million commute to work. I'm not going to argue with the numbers, but could you split the U.S.? So a large chunk, 40% is public transportation, 40% is walking, and the rest is biking. That way, visually, I can start breaking down, oh, these two are really big chunks. This is a small chunk. Maybe we should design something that is a hybrid of walking and public transportation. But overall, I don't... It has the information, but it visually doesn't look compelling. Can you give me this in another iteration? Persona going here. Can we line these things up? I think this line up. How about line the logos up so they're all centered on one another? Because really, this is like your design criteria. You need it to be efficient, safe, and maneuverable, but also these things. So how many criteria do you need? You talk about safety, you talk about efficiency, you lost efficiency. You talked about maneuverability, we lost maneuverability. All right, so what are the main criteria? And we're angling towards an older demographic. That would help to really know what the demographic is. We got to redo these sketches. Ugh. It's late, so I'm going to be honest. I hate the way this is laid out. It's just freaking lazy. And I don't want to use the word freaking, but I'm trying to hold my filter on a little bit longer. We can't frame your sketches right here. Like, it's too tight. And so all I'm doing is seeing, wow, that's really tight, and I actually don't look at the sketch. So reformat this entire page. throw these all in Photoshop. Give me an arrangement where this is the most impactful in the middle. It's got the best color. It's got the best line weights. And these are accessory. Give me some big headings. So like this is just a sketch. I want to know how your overall sketches got you to this point, and from this point how to branch over into these. These are form development. Maybe these come on the next page. But you have your criteria got developed through sketches, and your sketches got you to one concept. Your one concept is visually shown through 3 different directions. Maybe it's just better shown in 2 pages. All this to 1 and then 1 to 3. But we've got to Photoshop and we've got to do some hierarchy. We've got to make it look a lot more interesting, a lot more intentional than just I scan my things in and just throw them on a page. I see you working, but why is it important that we go into making the fabrication? Like, why do the models? Hey, Claude, who do we make this for? People? I don't see any people on it. Let me see if there's anything. So ideally, like, all these stories come full circle, and that's definitely a good thing. In action shot, that'd be good for scale, be good for humans. But your criteria here, maneuverable, safe, efficient, portable, interface, collapsible, all that information needs to be revisited, recommunicated here. Oh Lord, come on, Claw. The world is going to be a dangerous place when your accelerator is red. So go is red and red is green. I don't think that's probably the best way to communicate that information. Like, these are really nice sketches, and better they're not pixelated. But how are these functions? How is the shape? How is the overall intention of design solving problems for these people? That's what I'm hunting for at the very end. How's my audio? We good? All right, we're good. Got my face. Electric-free hooding for your home. Cool. Hey, get rid of those grids. Ah, shit. This is not a very good page. You're not even lining to a grid, so like, why even have it? Ugh, all right. Okay, who are you designing for? What purpose are you designing for? I know you're designing a non-electric space heater, but I really like the idea of like talking about the campfire first. What's cool about this environment? We got some pixelation happening, but get me into this idea first. Like, why do we gravitate towards this? And then start talking about products. Like, part of it is safety, but part of it is these existing design systems: butane, propane, electric, fire. They miss something. Part of it's safety, but part of it's interaction. So once you have your criteria from here, then we can pull that into the ideation. Right? You have grids. That lines up. That one doesn't line up. Why did you use candles? You used candles because of this reason. Instead of candles, using olive oil gives this benefit. The final solution, I'd like to talk about adding thermal mass. Why did you add thermal mass? You've already talked over here that we did olive oil, added grips. Okay, so if you're talking about grips, I need hands at some point. Show me how it works. Final concept, I think we can actually lose that. What is this image giving me that this one doesn't? I would say nothing. I could be totally fine about throwing that image out. Keeping this one, maybe expanding it to being 4 columns. And then zoom in here, zoom in a little bit there. TPU hand grip. Well, once again, show me how a hand would grip it. How do you light it? That's another good question. Yeah, how do you fill it with oil? Another good question. So when I see pages like this, it is an attractive page. Maybe you start off with this because it's really mysterious. I don't know what it is, but to finish it like this is confusing because you do this entire thing. Why? For this idea. So bring it back. I want people sitting around it, enjoying warmth, enjoying that it's an embodiment of their personal lifestyle, not so much just a flashy image. Gender consciousness, probably my favorite project so far. Logo, sure. Yo, that's a lot of text. But I know what we're going for. We got to get this off the wall. Bring this in some here. Maybe you can just not, you can go down some point sizes on the font. I want a statement here. I guess this is a statement. How can we eliminate gender stereotypes? And this is definitely gender stereotype. I'm not going to read that. I do feel like it's a bit small. I feel like that font choice is probably good for reading in this document. That's gotten too small, so you might need to reduce. You do need to reduce. So how can we eliminate gender stereotypes? How do we do that? You chose the restroom. Why is the restroom the best place? Because restrooms are the primary place where... Okay. I'm not saying no to the text. I think you've balanced things out well, but why is there so much text? And in this case, I might make that the size bigger to bring more attention to it. Research, related, spell check. All right, what do you want me to learn for this? Because right now, I have to do a lot of hunting. Like, can you bring my attention just to one piece of information and one piece of information and one piece of information? Because right now I'm just hunting. Why is this important? Well, we're unwilling to go because we've never gone before. We're scared of things we don't know. Unfeeling children, I would agree with that. So no working in the restrooms, but Come on, Bush. What information can I give you? Somehow I feel like these can be more important. Like this feels the direction you're going in. You need to give comfort through privacy. You need to give the child a sense of independence. How do you do that? I'm not really sure. I think a storyboard is good to help me understand either a problem that is existing or how a solution is introduced into a hypothetical situation. But you get to poster and pamphlets. Why is this a good choice to communicate your solution? At some point, I think you need to explain this is a multi-tiered problem and it cannot be solved by one product alone. So I need to develop different systems. say that between these two lines. That way when you're doing the pamphlet and then when you jump to the sanitary appliance, I understand why there's two things that don't seem to go together, because you're building parts of the system to put them together here. Hello, Postal Service. I want one more word. What are you redesigning? Are you doing the multiple? Okay, we're skipping. Right, tell me to skip it. I guess we gotta leave it because I don't know how to group these different items into one category. Redesigning USPS parcel and experience might be more accurate. All right, we gotta create a visual divide, because the way I'm reading it is you did my job, Kendall did post ready post, Rhett did flat rate, and Emily did lobby displays, and that's not how it went. And really it's not my job, it's our job to do that. So that's a bit misleading. And I don't really like the synergy image in the background. Does it really add anything? No. Let me think just for a second. Here's my idea. You put the names on top. In the middle, you say, it is our task to collaboratively provide solutions for the following initiatives. And then these will be bigger, and they're kind of split. That way I know everyone is contributing to everything here. In terms of background image, it really feels like you're not doing as much down here. I don't mind a border, so right now that's a 1/2 inch border. When I go back up to here, we've got maybe a full inch border. So maybe you keep the border size consistent all the way through. And I'd rather the border or these margins be small, because really it's just limiting your real estate. Finding pain points. We can remake a scenario like this, but what are those pain points? It's a placeholder image, right? I want to see y'all actually doing this, working on a board and saying, all right, from these large topics, we learned that A, B, and C. You talk about this in class. What I'm interested in is we introduced the idea of we. And so how did the we innovate this box? How did we innovate this box? Why is it a better solution than what's currently out there? Why did you simplify the flat pay, rate box, package? Like, you told me there's so much information, visual information that goes on there. It seems like a really good hierarchy project. You're simplifying things to bring attention to what's important, but you don't say that. I'm assuming that. Right, wayfinding, you can't just throw images of it and expect me to understand it as a good solution. You might give me 2 top-down views, before and after on one page, or just give me a before. These are the common problems with a USPS lobby, and then your solution could also be a top-down view. That way I understand context. And then when you're going into showing me the details, I understand how the system works and why it's a better system. with wayfinding included. Because right now you're just showing me stuff, but I don't know what solutions that this thing provides. Let me see if there's any color scheme we can pull out of this. Let's go with red. Just entertain me. What if you threw a red background behind this image? Would it be disgusting? So red line, red background. I just want to add like kind of a more consistent color palette to it. Simplify, simplify, simplify. How can you tell me the same amount of information through images and a few words instead of as many words as here? Because I'm having to hunt, and if I'm hunting, I'm not reading, I'm moving on. So what I'd like to see is maybe 2 images, one of a car drifting, the other one of an inside shot pulling this handle and bringing attention to the handle. And then I'll give you a total of like 12 words to explain it. Thinking, thinking, thinking. Well, it's not so much you're talking about current solutions. You're talking about the drawbacks, the negatives. They're bulky. You have to remove the console. It messes up the aesthetics with your vehicle. We don't want those things. So I'd say current issues, not current solutions, but current issues. And then maybe bold those words so I understand visually and textually that those are issues. And then what I would expect to see are like design opportunities, more cleaning. I mean, you're saying the same thing. I just don't like the verbiage in these situations. I think we can also work on spacing a little bit. So I'd like the images to be a little bit bigger, and the text is a good size, but the headers are kind of a problem. Like right now we're kind of challenged for a bit of horizontal space. Like we've got to increase the space here and here and here. Project brief should, or not project brief, but design opportunities should belong to this page, and current problems should belong to these pages. This is a boring ass page. And you're working for Chase Bays, so new solution. Did you really just solve the problem all in one go? So yeah, this has to be technical. I really don't like these boxes. They are killing every fiber of my being right now. Why are you showing me these things? Is a good question. Right, so if this is project opportunities, this could be competitor analysis. Like, what do I need to know about these things? Because right now I'm just looking at them. And if this is your solution, don't show it on this page. Like, let me understand you have a good understanding and communication of the market, and then you make the developments on it, and then you give me the solution. This should really come up here with what's out currently, and with these guys. It shouldn't come after what I think is your development and your solution. One thing that's difficult with your project right now is you have to communicate these little hidden problems that I can't visually see. And if the goal is to have this clean setup, then at the end, show me the clean setup. Wait. We got 2. I'm going to go with 2. this is a poster. I can't give you I can tell you if this was you're doing a Behance site, that'd be one thing, but we're not doing Behance, so I'm not willing to give you feedback on this. What about this? Go back to this other one. It's got to be a format in 16 by 9. That's the requirement I'm putting out for everybody. All right. Too big, too clunky, right? The intention is right. You're explaining the problem. Maybe do it more literally, less graphically. Like if I understand the problem, I care about the solution. If I don't care about your problem, I'll move on. All right, so these are the criteria I'll be measuring you by later. We don't have any development. We just got some renders. So it's difficult for me to appreciate the fact that it is more light and compact, allows for personal storage, and is simple and easy to use because you're not really articulating on these things. You just got renders. Why is it simpler to use? Why is it intuitive? Where do you store things? Work on this drop shadow. How does it, well, I see that is collapsed down, but is that the smallest it can get? Probably. Sorry, I'm tired, I can't think. What's the point of collapsing it down? Where might someone store it once it's collapsed? What are some added user benefits? Okay, got it. We're talking about aquaponics. I like this intro better. What's nice about it here is you're showing me detail shot. I understand the context, but I don't know what the solution is yet, so I've got to keep on reading. I'm good with that. What is aquaponics? You tell me. I'd like you to show me. Maybe it's not necessary you show me, but I would like that. Anyways, moving on. Stats, price range, prices, price range. Come on, baby. I shouldn't be the one finding these issues. It should be you. These should be different colors. By the color, I associate them all as the same thing. If this is just aquaponics and this is nationwide, you can say that the U.S., parts of the U.S. are proud drone. No, man, dyslexic. Part of the U.S. are prone to drought. That is true. Are we currently in a drought? No. Go ask Myrtle Beach right now. Because if it's currently, it's always currently. One-third of all U.S. households have a garden. This is misleading. Millennials spent, that's a lot of dollars, on food, gardening last year. Did they spend that on grocery? Or did they spend that on gardening to produce food? If I don't know, I'll assume, and I'll always assume wrong. Is that actually true? Like, what's wrong with current systems? They don't function? Because that's what that tells me. I would really do feel too DIY, and they do lack the ability to expand. I might cut that out because to me that doesn't make no sense. For your target demographic, because you say like this is being redundant actually. You're citing a market and you're having a target demographic. What I would encourage you to try is fill up this entire like gray box with images, kind of tile them out, make sure they align to some type of grid format, and then drop these little descriptions in there. Right now it feels too much piecemeal. Cindy, what things do I care about the most? I care about, like, what does he need functionally? So while having the persona is good, I don't care about the persona right now. So how can I start caring about this person? I don't even know if I can answer that question. A brand with a promise. A promise to do what? You see what I'm saying? Like, you send me as a promise. All right, what's the promise? I do like descriptions a lot. Good job. Is that red kind of in line with the other graphics you've done? Yeah, so we'll call this your red project. It does feel weird to go to a green there. Very much the Michael Bridgers style. So I'm wondering, if we go back, what things does she need in an aquaponic system? How are you addressing those needs? How does it fit into her lifestyle? Because we're not designing for ourselves. How does a large system work? Because once again, I want how it works before you get into details. Right, because until I know the micro doesn't make no sense. Could we stagger 4 and 5? Them being placed on top of each other bugs me. So maybe 4s. Where's a consistent place? I don't know. We'll say 4s are right here because you can get 3 out of 4 on some brown. And then 5s are over here. 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. Just a better way to visually space it out. I hate this guy. Like, the further you go, the more detailed and literal it should be. And then you go back to really extract with that person. I do like the color options. But for me, this would be like your final image. Like, this should be a real life version of this attached to the back of the house. I got a little cornhole board. I've got brick. So I'd like this one to feel more real than it does. It does have the brick, but it doesn't feel like no home. How we doing? Doing good? Audio's good? Great. I feel like we talked about this previously, and I don't really see any changes. So I'm assuming we talked about this in our meeting the other day. I think so. So just some quick stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Scott Phillips. What are the things that he needs? What are the biggest designing points? We've got to get this into some type of discernible information because right now it's not there. Why do we have an app? And the biggest thing I want you to show about having an app is how does the entire system work together, not in its silo. So this is good. I do wonder how an app might work here. It's pretty, but what are you communicating in this image? And it seems it's not a, right, this is my perception. It's a solution for urban gardeners. It's a very expensive system, especially if you're using a rooftop, and every building only has one rooftop. It's a system for gardeners, plural. So what type of accommodations are you making for that? Don't get me wrong, it looks really good. I'm just asking questions and I don't really see answers. Drip, drip. Okay. You're going to need more criteria than that. Let's see if you come up with it. All right, good. I got it. Understand how aquaponics works. Got it. Current issues, bugs, fish access, exposed pipes. So maybe you're blending these current issues with health conscious. I don't like this criteria. It's like you could design so much for a health conscious family, but it can go in so many different directions. So let's move the criteria down to tell me about the issues, tell me about your design criteria or design opportunities, and then get into exploratory sketching. I think this text can get knocked down 1 or 2 points. And this arrow, for me, is a crutch. Really, things should get a bit bigger and more detailed, and this is kind of the opposite. Your biggest and most detailed here. I don't really care that the final marker renderings. The marker has nothing to do with anything. I want to know how the idea progressed. I just want to hit myself in the face with the hydroponic system right now. Is it just you're just figuring out form stuff, or are you actually considering how the person's going to interact with it? It's not that form is bad, it's just you did run around our sketching and you got all the functions worked out and you know how the person's going to interface with it? Or are you still solving problems here? In that case, get rid of the marker idea because it's not really about marker. It's just continual product refinement or concept refinement. Same thing, I think this font size is appropriate. These are just a touch big. I would try them still green, just a notch or two down. All right, show me macro. If I could, if this is me, I know it's more convenient for me to say this than actually do it. Rotate this counterclockwise. I want this one to be in the foreground to be bigger, and I want that one to be in the background. Slightly depth of field, a bit fuzzy. Key components, cool, but like I want this. Let's do what's inside first. Show me how it works, and then come back to the key components. Because I want to have a good idea of where all these parts work, where are they, and how they work in tandem before you start detailing them. Okay. We don't need a portfolio page. Ming Yang, what is this? I don't even know what project we're talking about. All right, we're talking about aquaponics. Cool. Introduce aquaponics. Sometimes some contextual image so I know what we're talking about first. Let's not... I want you to fill these letters with the gray and then get rid of the black background. I want you to get rid of these graphics. Sure, you can leave that, but these are more distracting and not beneficial. You can't write this much information. I'm not going to stop and read it. I want to know what the most important thing is. What are your goals in this brief? What type of hydroponic system do you want to provide? How does hydroponics work? Inspiration. At this point, I don't know. I don't know why you need inspiration. What are the problems you want to fix or improve? Then you go into sketching. The sketching does not give you products. It gives you developed concepts. I need more work. If this is the level of work I'm going to see and this is project 1, this is going to be a long semester. I got to see more output from you next time. Yeah, I feel the same way. This is where I get frustrated. I don't see any fish. I don't see any plants. I don't see any people. I don't understand how hydroponic works. It's like you're not listening to what I'm saying in class. So, other than you just including the renders, I have nothing here. Whatever. If you would enter here, what does that look like? I would like to just kind of central things up a little bit. All right. Could you throw an image on here? I want kids on the playground. That kind of feels it's the thing that's going for here. Because I don't want you to identify a child who's on the autism spectrum, but if the goal is a lot of kids playing together, this is a problem. And so how do we, or it's a challenge, how do we address that challenge? Diligence since the timer goes off, I don't know. What I'm interested in is you did the research. What are the outcomes and how does that feed into your ideation? All right, you're talking about visible timers, visible timers, visible timers. That has to be an outcome from your research, right? Too much text. Can we add color to some of these? I think we talked about this last class, so here I am saying it again. In your ideation, if you assign a color for touch, we'll say red, orange, green, yellow. And that way, when you're going through these concepts, I can say, oh, he's exploring the idea of touch. He's exploring the idea of visual, exploring the idea of being creative. That's one element. 2, why are these good solutions? How are you working through ideas to improve it? I don't really know. All I see is sketches. So, you made a model. What did you learn from the model? You learned proportions. What need to be improved off the model? That's a good question. Because is it done at this point? Maybe. Why am I looking at this? I'm also a bit confused. It feels like it's a countdown. So this direction, right? When you're with no time, what do you see? Red or green? I shouldn't be questioning this. You're the one who designed it. You got to communicate this information. One problem with this playground toy, it doesn't feel like it's a kid toy. It seems like it's a visual marker that the instructor sets that the kid uses to manage their time working out in the playground. And dang, this feels depressive. So I want this on a playground scene. It does need to be kind of foreground, But the point is for kids to enjoy their time more effectively, and I'm not sure if this image relays that. Can we find another script font? Because I read here, let me take your coal. That's what I read. Now, target environment, market research, still this guy, I don't filter images. We gotta work on the topography here. I'm curious, what did you learn from these things? Or what are some must-haves? I wonder if this is a target environment or a mood board. At some point, I think it's important to break down why it's difficult to design a coat rack, because you have this dichotomy of it is a large sculpture in your home. You want it to be an embodiment of your style, but when it's in use, it is covered up. So, other than that, do you ever address the conundrum or the duality? Talked about changing this better photography. All right, I'll leave that alone. Okay, I mean, it's, from me, it's just, it's missing a shifting point and just missing some content that I can't give feedback on, but I'll give feedback on that eventually. And really, like I said earlier, these type of projects, the ones that are more form aesthetic based, the images need to look beautiful, whereas you can probably skimp on some of the content. I've already given. So we have 3 uploads in Ming, can you do me a favor? If you have multiple uploads, tell me on the older ones, look at the new version. That way I don't spend time looking at old versions, because I'm just going through what's posted. Okay. Got it. All right, one problem with saying like the products from Magpul, I don't know what Magpul is, so I can't use that as a starting point. I don't need persona necessarily, because anybody reading a portfolio will go, oh, this is a person, this is probably who you're designing for. So we could use that information in a bit better way. Everyday carry. Does everyday carry apply to this? Because the system is gigantic. I mean, you're not going to carry this every day. The hydroponic system doesn't really apply to that. So I'm wondering how that ties in. But if you include a product from Magpul, a light, a Leatherman, a Jeep, I'm starting to understand the persona and the kind of lifestyle brand of this person. So even if I don't know one item, I can put together the pieces of a larger system. Thank you for taking notes. I do appreciate it. I wonder, how do you bring... You see what you did here? You did like this red, and it says that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. So I like how it brings attention to it. And so you have these initial ideas, and you develop it out. And then you go to here. It's not so much the shape isn't perfect, I agree, but your current solutions aren't as aligned or don't best fit your persona as they could. So I want one of these to be in red just to bring attention to it, like we need to change gears because the direction you have is good but not great. And so we get to this guy. No, we can't do that there. I need a better description of how it works, which to me is really important because it's a system. If you don't explain how the system works, then I'm lost. I do like the expandable aquaponic. That's something I didn't know that this could do. Let's get rid of that image, mostly because it's very similar to that one. And so is it telling me anything additionally that I don't already know? Probably not. All right, now looking at that, go back to your previous page where these were both on the same one. Like if this was like kind of a dark and brooding, like a thunderstorm in the background, and like a bear and a wolf, and a prepper with like nothing but like a pocket knife, something really dramatic, this would be a good image. But given what I see right now, just put these back in the same and let it ride. Well, once again, if you're going to throw up new stuff, you got to let me know to see the newest stuff, because I just go down the line when they were posted, because that's the best way to check everything in the class. Research images. It's the same thing. What are the main takeaways? That's what I'm interested in. How does that apply to you deciding or determining that visual timers are the best investment of your development energy? All right, small changes, it works. Got to change, like I said. Better, still too much text. Bring my attention to text if you want me to. Final solution. My biggest thing still is like, I need to see this in a small environment. I need to see it with people. I need to know how it works. So, very similar comments to before. Move this up just. I want to move it up again, but it's gonna kind of lead off right there. Right now, it's just a little bit too tight. Make your quotations smaller. Move that text down just a notch. Problem: poverty, homes, aging. Got it. So, how will your solutions solve persistent poverty, mobile homes, and aging? This might be a tough one to deal with. I do like the color change. Appreciate you doing that. Feels like there's a little bit weird visual. Take these guys. Actually, this line can come up some, and then maybe the majority of these guys can move down a little bit. Just even spacing. Redesign for a resident. Cool. Good. I like you bringing attention to areas to improve. I understand where this is going towards now. All you do is Photoshop that little guy out and you got it. One problem you're having is a little bit of spacing. It's like you want to write this additions, where to place back door for easier expansion. Good question. But by putting this here, does this image belong to early 1970s or 1961? I don't know. So I want to move some up, move some down, but what do we do with additions? I don't know. Client values. Cool. These accessory pieces of information, make those guys like 70% gray instead of 100% black. All right, so by this you say, all right, here's two opportunities to make it larger. We explored the two opportunities. Transverse worked, longitudinal did not. This is our final design. So maybe I'll articulate a bit better on this. So if you can make a 3D model of this house to kind of superimpose over the right, it would show that it is at this current state, but it will look like this. Or maybe just, I don't know, to be rendered. All right, I'll close my mouth and read your notes. That's odd. Let me hit this again. Okay, not working. Don't know why. All right, you said some more renders. Ooh, this is nice. Impossible to read. This needs to be larger. I actually used Y hydroponic over here. Still, some questions here. Why are these important? Why are you showing me the different methods of aquaponics? Yep, still fill out my first options. I don't really care about him reading Men's Health. This is a bit redundant and not as visual. I need to know how the system works. If I don't know how the system works, I'm totally lost. Same input on those. Same input on those. All right, I can't give you anything else really. Dang, we're pixelated. We can't be pixelated. And this isn't aligned to anything. I'd rather everything be left aligned or everything be right aligned. You can't do left and right. Home sprout. Sure. All right, you've got 2 pages on 1 page. I need you to explain what aquaponics is first and why it's important. And then you can talk about your opportunities. We learned through visiting a facility that modern aquaponics could be improved in 1, 2, 3 ways. So page 1, make sure I understand how the system works. Page 2, what are the opportunities? All right, you have a get rid of the word inspiration, scale it out so it fills the rest of this, and the entire thing will be gridded out. Get rid of the word goal and just write, how might we create a simple and efficient system to utilize space within tiny homes? That'll give me, that screws me up. Because what you say is the goal and what I'm seeing here are totally different. This is the only tiny home thing that we see. Yes, that is too, even though it's not a tiny home, it's just really good use of space. And then like a lot of inspirational images, so you can't do 2 things at once. Either this can be a mood board, and this doesn't really feel like a mood board. This is more, how do you use small spaces to achieve big goals, which would cut that out. I guess it'll cut that as, I don't know what that is at all. So you need a direction for this page. Once I understand the opportunities of current aquaponic systems, we need to transition towards sketching and thinking about ideas. Now, I know this is what you did, but is this what you want to talk about? What is that? Yes, fact. You develop a logo before you develop a system. Good. Do you want the logo in here? Or do you not? Would it be easier to make a product solution and then brand it instead of making a brand? I don't know. You gotta answer these questions, but for me, it's just like, hey, we did some logo development. Okay, now back to our story. It just feels like it's a bad addition in that place. We have a hierarchy issue here because all your developments down here are the same sizes as these. I do like it how it brings focus. We've got to get rid of that black outline. So like maybe this works. What I really would like is for these to be a bit bigger, these to be a bit smaller, and then you definitely have to show a conclusion. What? I'm lost, right? I don't know how, I don't know what things you're solving. I don't know why chimes are the best option. And so when you throw me this, I am completely and utterly lost. And like, should these be real fish instead of silverfish? Is it like a legitimate aquaponic system? Shouldn't things be growing out of it? Shouldn't have a human close to it so I understand scale? Fish can be any size. Typically people are between like 5 feet and 6 feet-ish. We got more work to do, team. Alright, let me see if I give you the feedback we talked about. Yeah, talked about this already. You really should have uploaded the newest document. Can we get rid of these numbers? The 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They're just annoying, I guess. They don't really add anything to the page. Like I know it's page 2 because I scroll down from page 1. Yee. Yes, the flexible gloves. You got the same problem I do. Every page is like really full of information, which isn't bad, but you have more elements to juggle, and there's more chance that I'm going to miss a bit of really essential information. I'm afraid your font size is a bit small. I would say that's as small as you can get, and these two things get smaller. So, what are we talking about? Smart gloves for exercising the elderly. So, what do I look at first? Research, product design, final, display the scenario. Do those change as we go? They do. What I wish would happen is you see this little blue box, which is kind of anchored on the left. I wanted it to move how the other kind of color change moved. Could we see an iteration of that? The biggest problem you're having is like, where do I look? It's well composed. There's lots of information, but what's the most important for me to look at? I'm going to guess it's the blue information. And there's a lot of blue information. So my suggestion is just make this into 2 pages. Is it like, in theory, double the pages? Yes, but at least when you start breaking this down into this is the left page, what's the most important thing? The blue things. Shrinkage in frontal cortex. New technologies are hard. Got it. Ugly, feel confused about it. Got it. Right? So just help me break down this into steps, into so much information at the same time. I might just do an entire page user journey map. And up to this point, you have like this cartoon style, and it's kind of serious and kind of a tighter looking project. And when I see this guy, I'm confused. So I might just take him out because it kind of breaks up the tone. I'm expecting either serious vector graphics or these type of people communicating some type of issue. Same thing. What's the most important thing on this page? Is it left or right? What are we ideating through? You see how I can kind of see the image in the background? It makes this a touch harder to read. After the test, we find the fingertips switch hard to control. We needed to find a way to enhance the touch, structure the gloves. It's too many words. The same thing. I'm trying to understand why do we have this little electronic microcontroller gizmo? Why did we test? And then what did your test give you in terms of information and insights to make changes or make improvements to your final concept? I'm not sure if all these graphics are working. The main reason is I see it on the glove from a top view, and so when you show me this next image as a separate unit, I don't know where it goes. Once again, that's one of the challenges of having a lot of information on the page. If I miss something important, then I get lost really easily. Fingertip mini pad. Won't that make things more difficult? Alright, let's see if I can give you a last bit of feedback. What are your main problems? As you ideated, where did it take you? What did you learn from prototyping? How does the gloves improve their quality of life? Because if I'm going back, it's for these people. So how is it helping these people? Talk about getting it in on time. Branding design? We'll see if it's branding. It's definitely packaging, but it seems like the brand was provided for you. We gotta fix this up. Goal, maybe like health, portion control, and decrease messiness. We're never gonna totally eliminate mess, but what's a better way to say that? And maybe this goes on the next page, talking about the goal. I'm not really buying this research. So what are some issues? Portion control and messiness. Talk about those issues first. Do that in your current issues page, or you can call it your research page if you want to. So how can we give the right amount of food to the right breed and size of cat? And then how do we decrease messiness? So there's a lot of different ways, but I need to really understand what this is to understand that I honestly don't think people care about nutrition. People care more about portion control, and they don't with the mess. Okay, so I just don't like the way you're visualizing this. It just sucks. Sorry, it's late. I have no more filter left. All right, so Kimmy, if these are the things you want to do, less messy, better portion control, I need to see you exploring ideas that are around those two concepts. We have a hierarchy issue. Yes, technically that's the biggest. And my eye goes here because there's a vignette in the background. But I don't know what problems you solved. These colors are actually kind of really weird. Like these are all lathed aluminum pieces. So maybe divide the page in half. This one is portion control exploration and decrease messiness. And that way I'm understanding that it's not just shapes. Like I can't read the callouts, and so I don't know what you're going through. I don't know what you're solving. So I don't want to guess. I want to know specifically what concepts are investigating what possible outcomes. Prototyping. Why did you prototype? I don't know. It's your project. And it seems you're only pursuing one concept. We have two ideas, portion control and messiness. So maybe you do portion control, messiness, and then they come into one concept. You graphically explain that concept, but still, I'm getting to the point. Why prototyping? Prototyping is good, and then you get the sequence of use. It would be a lot more effective if you have, or in this case, had the model for you to break it down and show step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 would probably be more effective than showing it here. You know what people open packages with? Their fingers. So that's what I'm kind of missing is the human element here. And this just seems so freaking sad. Like, is this cat in prison? What's the deal? Like, this is all presentation. Hooray that my fingers aren't gunky. But if my cat looks at me, it's just like, hey, this is unacceptable. I'd probably look back and say, you right, cat, you right. Nah. Like by now, this should be, if you show me how, I've already seen these images. This should either be like in the store or for a type of marketing campaign. I know that y'all did these images for Shoe-In where like Meow Mix would actually use it in their advertising. That's the type of image I need here. All right, good job, Ben. You did it.